the end of last term, we mobilized to shut down the Board of Trustees meeting and issued a list of 4 demands for the Board of Trustees and for President Pavel. These demands were: 1, the disarmament of campus security, as our campaign Disarm PSU states. 2, breaking with the food service company Aramark that provides university food, with the stipulation that no food service employment is terminated. Number 3, that we provide a living wage for every single person working on this campus of $15 an hour. And 4, that we lower tuition through lowering administrative salaries such as the Pavel's salary, which is $600,000 a year, plus a house and a car and a phone and a maid service, and other money he makes out of his business and investments in his home. So, our first demand is the disarmament of campus security. So I want to talk about how this decision was made. This decision was made by the Board of Trustees, which is an unelected body. The way that they are elected is the president, our president, Pavel, suggests a list of board members to the governor. The governor approves them, or the Senate officially appoints them. This body is made up of 14 members. Almost all of them are white. There's only 1 student representative, 1 faculty representative, and 1 staff representative. All of the others are people such as a former executive of Nike who oversees sweatshops in China, and Nike's top lawyer. So really, developers, executives, people who have nothing to do with PSU and have no stake in student life and what happens at the school, except the money that they can make off of the developments that they can make at the school. So, PSUSU was present starting last year at every single board meeting. We had our voices heard and our tactics escalated until we got to the point last year where we decided to shut down the Board of Trustees meeting, issuing our demands. Despite this, our comments on open comment and otherwise were never included in the notes. They made it very clear they did not care what students thought about this. Student government issued a poll last year over a holiday weekend over email that brought in 1,500 votes, which, considering the circumstances, is a very large number. And what that poll showed was that a third of students wanted campus security to be armed. A third of them were neutral, and a third of them did not want them to be armed. And within the third that was neutral, some people were okay with deputization and not armament. When we told Pavel about these results, how the board decided that this showed that you should arm campus security, he said, well, the board looked at the information, they saw the split, and they just took it as what they decided to do, whatever they wanted to do with it. They really had no reasoning to do this except for the financial benefit of militarizing your campus. So, there's a lot of different rationale that have been used for this decision. There's always the mass shooting argument when we know that in an educational mass shooting situation, one of the least likely scenarios is that an officer will come into contact with the shooter and stop them using their weapons. And from the Department of Justice statistics, that is the almost least likely scenario to happen in a mass shooting. We've been told that it can help prevent sexual assault. Officers that have guns can do things that officers with guns can't do. And it can help people who are suffering from mental illness and who have suffered from sexual assault in ways that undetected officers can't do. What they continue to fail to recognize is that police officers are not exempt from violence, from sexual violence and violence otherwise. Police officers are violent. All 50% of wives of police officers suffer from domestic abuse. Portland Police has a history of showing disparate, violent treatment towards mentally ill people. Police officers sexually assault people all the time, especially trans people. But somehow putting a gun in their hand and increasing state capacity to oppress will somehow decrease the effect of sexual violence on the campus. Another thing that has happened is this very insidious criminalization of houseless people and people with chemical dependencies. During this, the board and BIM always talk, and officers that we've spoken to, always talk about these criminals that come in from campus. The word bad guys has been used a lot by some of the officers. These bad guys who come in from campus, from outside, and commit these crimes they're the bad guys and we students are the good guys. And these homeless people, these homeless people who come in and commit these crimes need to be taken care of. But the university continues to fail to recognize that there are houseless students on this campus. Houseless people and students are not separate. 54% of students at this university experience food insecurity. Many, many students experience houselessness because of the price of how much it costs to get an education and to live on this campus. So it is disgusting that they are criminalizing houseless people who could be houseless people who are students on this campus in order to justify putting guns in the hands of these police officers. Another thing that's happened that ties together with that is the constant criminalization of people with chemical dependencies. An officer told us, when describing the kind of bad guys that we might want to get off this campus, what if somebody's a drug dealer? What if somebody's trying to steal your backpack to get money to buy drugs? Again, failing to recognize that there are students who suffer from chemical dependency on this campus, so things aren't separate. A while back, my friend Olivia Pace was talking to one of the security heads in the science building, and his example for why this might be necessary was, well, the other day, we went to the bathroom and sniffed and there's somebody doing drugs in the bathroom. And then when we saw him, he got up and he ran away. But if we had had a gun, maybe he wouldn't have ran away. Instead of creating resources to help houseless people, to help people with chemical dependencies, they are instead figuring out how to get rid of them, how to stifle them, and how to get them off this campus so that we can continue to enjoy this wonderful privilege of getting a college education. Instead of trying to help students on this campus, they're trying to figure out how to deal with them without thinking about resources to help them. So another thing that is continue to deny is that this is not about power and control. The origins of militarizing campuses came at the height of anti-war protests in the 60s and 70s. Those things are not separated. Campuses did not begin to become militarized, and institutions of education did not begin to put guns in the hands of their officers until students began to radicalize international activist movements in ways that they never had before. So the fact that currently we are riding the wave of a new era of civil rights activism is absolutely not disconnected from putting guns in the hands of our campus security. The fact that last year this university saw a 41% increase in diversity of students. But they love to tout. They love their diverse students. They love them so much. That is not disconnected from putting guns in the hands of these officers. So, Portland Police and CPSO have their own problems alike. Portland Police, Portland has a 6.1% black population, yet black people make up about 12% of traffic stops in Portland. And Portland has an absolutely horrific history of brutally murdering black and brown people and people with mental illnesses. Keaton Notice, who was shot 26 times when he was sitting in his car. It was said that he had a gun, but he shot back. Yet that gun was never, ever recovered. Evidence of this happening was never brought forward, and it's been over 5 years. Kendra James, who was shot in her car who was shot in her friend's car while trying to flee the scene after her friend got pulled over. She was unarmed. Aaron Campbell, on the day that his brother died, was suicidal, and his family called the police on him because they were afraid he was going to kill himself. When he stepped outside his house, the police surrounded him, and when he reached for his pant pocket, they shot him and they killed him. Along with that, CPSO has their own evidence of disparate treatment towards students of color also. CPSO, between 2006 and 2012, 12.7% of the suspects that were profiled and detained and arrested on this campus, 12.7% were black. PSU has a 3% black population. So in Portland, black people only make up double what they should in terms of traffic stops. At PSU, suspects and people who are detained and arrested make up quadruple what they should actually make up in terms of suspects. 3 to 12.7%. Yet CPSO denies this. We have brought this to them. We have brought this to the board, and we have talked to the chief of security many times about this. And this is something that they absolutely do not. No, keep very good track of our numbers. We would never do that. But it's true. The numbers are out there, and we continue to deny it in the hopes that we'll ignore it. So, when we come at the administration with the idea that arming campus security absolutely poses a disparate threat towards students of color, they come back at us with diversity politics that continually fall flat. They drafted a 5-year diversity plan earlier, or 5-year strategic plan earlier this year that included the phrase capitalizing off of diversity, meaning taking this increasingly diverse population at Portland and PSU and using it to their financial benefit. And this phrase was not taken out of the document until students told them many, many times ago. It was extremely inappropriate. And Fimbabel said to me, well, capitalizing is like a pretty generic term. Didn't seem to have any problem with it. Another thing they do is acting like, or is hiring somebody like Carmen Suarez, the new officer of diversity and employment. She's an administrator. She gets paid an administrative salary. It's a pretty fucking huge check. This individual person who is tasked with increasing diversity and inclusion, when we could be taking the money she's being paid and putting it towards resources to increase equity among students of color on this campus. They act like they love diversity so much they love black women. They were people like Angela Davis and Obel Tometi and Alicia Garza. But what they continue to do, whilst trying to show how much they love activism, they love radical black people, they love black women, is criminalizing 2 women of color continually who are involved in this struggle. Me and Alyssa have received more targeting than anybody else in this organization for the activism that we've taken part in. Despite the fact that we have never been alone in this, there have always been many, many, many white people alongside us. Yet we have been continually strategically targeted by this administration. Starting from the very beginning of this year, before the school year even started, to yesterday. So, the admin can continue to pretend that they care so much about diverse students. They can continue to push this idea that everything they do is to keep us safe, but this has never been about safety. This is about power and control. Militarization is always, in any community, about power and control. So the only way that we are going to win this is to collectively mobilize and take that power and control back, because that is what we deserve as students and staff and faculty. We deserve power and control.